Welcome everyone. Today we are diving into a crucial topic in linear programming, the optimal solution termination criteria. Imagine you are climbing a mountain in a thick fog, completely blindfolded. You want to reach the absolute highest peak, so you feel the ground around you with your foot. If a step leads upward, you take it. But how do you know when you have finally reached the very top? That is exactly what we will answer today for mathematical optimization. Building on our mountain analogy, in linear programming, this feeling around process is called the simplex method. Why does this matter? Because without a rule to stop, an algorithm might just run forever. The simplex method is essentially a step-by-step mathematical recipe for solving a problem. It moves from one valid solution to a better one, constantly checking if it can improve our main goal, which we call the objective function. The termination criteria are the specific mathematical conditions that signal we have found the absolute best possible answer, meaning no mathematical path left can improve our current situation. Now that we understand what the simplex method does, let us look at its primary target. Every linear programming problem has a main goal, known as the objective function. In the real world, this usually means we are either trying to maximize our total profit, like a factory selling toys, or minimize our total cost, like a bakery buying ingredients. The algorithm evaluates every variable not currently in our solution to see if bringing it in would improve this objective function. If no new choice can make our total score any better, we know it is time to stop. This brings us to how we mathematically define our main goal. The objective function is represented by the letter Z. Conceptually, it is just the sum of the profits or costs from all our individual activities. In this formula, Z represents the total profit or cost we are trying to optimize. The symbol C sub j represents the profit or cost per single unit of activity j. Finally, X sub j is the number of units of that activity we decide to produce. As X sub j increases, the total value Z changes depending on the value of C sub j. Now that we have defined our total profit, we must consider what happens when we change our plan. Introducing a new activity into our solution is never free. Because our resources are limited, starting a new activity means we have to take resources away from our current activities. This sacrifice creates a hidden cost, which is essentially a loss of the profit we were already making. Before we can decide if a new activity is actually worth pursuing, we must mathematically calculate exactly how much existing profit we will destroy to create it. Let us look at the formula used to calculate this hidden cost. Conceptually, we are adding up the value of all the resources we have to give up. Here, Z sub j represents the total loss of profit from the resources we have to take away to make exactly 1 unit of the new activity j. The symbol C sub b represents the profit of our basic variables, which are simply the activities currently active in our solution. The symbol Y sub ij represents the substitution rate, telling us exactly how much of our current active resources must be sacrificed. If the substitution rate increases, our hidden cost Z sub j also increases. With both the potential profit and the hidden cost calculated, we arrive at the most important comparison in the simplex method. To decide if a new activity is worth it, we must compare the profit it brings to the profit it destroys. This difference is called the net evaluation, or sometimes the reduced cost. It represents the overall true change in our total profit if we decide to include 1 unit of a new activity. This single number is the key to knowing whether we should keep adjusting our plan or if we have reached the optimal solution. This brings us to the formula for the net evaluation. Conceptually, it is a simple subtraction. What we lose minus what we gain. The symbol delta sub j is the net evaluation. It equals Z sub j, which is the profit we lose, minus C sub j, which is the profit we gain by introducing 1 unit of activity j. If this difference is negative, it means we gain more than we lose. So our overall profit would go up and we should keep going. If delta sub j increases and becomes positive, it means the activity hurts our profit. Now that we know how to calculate the net evaluation, let us establish the rule for when to stop a maximization problem. In a maximization problem, our goal is to make the total profit as large as possible. Therefore, the algorithm should only terminate when bringing in any new variable would either decrease the profit or leave it completely unchanged. Simply put, we stop calculating when no new choice can make our total score any higher. This is the mathematical equivalent of realizing that every step you take on the mountain leads downwards. Here is the exact mathematical condition for stopping a maximization problem. Conceptually, it guarantees we are at the peak. It states that for every single activity j, the net evaluation delta sub j must be greater than or equal to 0. In plain English, this means the profit we lose by making a change is greater than or equal to the profit we gain. If delta sub j is positive, introducing the activity decreases our overall profit. Since making a change would only hurt us or do nothing, we stop, knowing we have the best possible plan. Before we move on, let us see this with a concrete example. A toy factory is maximizing its profit using the simplex method. The manager looks at the final calculation table. The activities not currently being produced are wooden trains, which we will call activity 3, and plastic cars, which we will call activity 4. Their calculated net evaluations are given as delta 3 equals 2 and delta 4 equals 5. We need to determine if the factory has reached its optimal production plan. Because this is a maximization problem, we choose to check if the net evaluation for every unused activity is greater than or equal to 0. Continuing with our factory example, let us evaluate these numbers. For the wooden trains, delta 3 equals 2. This tells us that producing one wooden train would actually decrease our overall profit by $2 because it takes away valuable resources from more profitable toys. For the plastic cars, delta 4 equals 5, meaning producing one would decrease profit by $5. We compare our values to the termination rule. Since 2 is greater than 0 and 5 is greater than 0, the condition is perfectly satisfied. The factory manager can safely stop calculating. This is the most profitable plan possible. Now that we have mastered maximization, let us flip the scenario and look at minimization. In a minimization problem, like minimizing the cost of materials, our goal is to find the deepest valley instead of the highest peak. We want to reduce costs as much as possible. Therefore, the algorithm should terminate when bringing in a new activity would only increase our costs or keep them exactly the same. We stop when we have successfully found the absolute cheapest possible solution, and no further changes can save us any more money. This leads us to the mathematical stopping condition for minimization. Conceptually, it is the exact opposite of our previous rule. It states that the net evaluation delta sub j must be less than or equal to 0 for all activities. Remember, delta sub j is what we lose minus what we gain. In a cost context, if delta sub j is negative, it means introducing the activity adds more cost than it saves. If this value decreases further into the negatives, the cost penalty becomes even worse. Therefore, when all values are 0 or negative, we stop. Let us apply this new rule to a practical situation. A bakery is trying to minimize the cost of its bread recipe. The baker is reviewing the simplex table for two unused ingredients: rye flour, which is ingredient 1, and oat flour, which is ingredient 2. The net evaluations are calculated as delta 1 equals -3 and delta 2 equals 0. We need to know if this is the absolute cheapest recipe. Because the goal is to reduce costs, we chose the minimization termination criterion, requiring all net evaluations to be less than or equal to 0. Continuing with the baker's recipe, we test the given values against our rule. The net evaluation for rye flour is -3. This means introducing rye flour would actually increase our costs by $3, which is bad for a minimization goal. The net evaluation for oat flour is exactly 0, meaning it would not change the total cost at all. Since -3 is less than 0 and 0 is equal to 0, the condition is fully met. The baker has found the optimal, cheapest possible recipe and can confidently stop searching. Now that we have calculated these values, let us see how they appear in practice. What you are looking at is a standard simplex tableau, which is how computers and mathematicians organize these calculations. Notice the highlighted bottom row. This row represents our net evaluations, the delta J values we just learned to calculate. For this maximization problem, we scan this entire bottom row. Because all the numbers in that highlighted row are positive or 0, specifically 2, 5, 0 and 0, the termination criterion is visually met. This row acts as a definitive stop sign, telling the algorithm its job is done. This visual stop sign leads us to an important question. Why does this termination rule matter so much in the real world? Without a clear mathematical stopping point, computer programs solving these complex problems would run forever in infinite loops, wasting massive amounts of time and computing power. In real-world logistics, such as an airline scheduling thousands of daily flights, the termination criteria guarantee that the schedule found is mathematically the absolute cheapest or most efficient option. It gives business managers absolute confidence that no better plan exists under their current constraints, preventing them from unknowingly losing millions of dollars. Let us summarize the most important ideas we have covered today. First, the simplex method relies on termination criteria to act as a definitive stop sign, proving no further improvements can be made. Second, the core of this check is the net evaluation, delta J, which compares the profit a new activity brings against the profit it destroys. Finally, remember the golden rules. For maximization, we stop when all net evaluations are positive or 0. And for minimization, we stop when they are negative or 0. You now fully understand how to find the absolute peak of profit or the deepest valley of cost.